Welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, January 20th, 2021. I'm Triska Campbell with the details. St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Tuesday recorded another death due to dengue fever. A news release from the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, said the 15-year-old asthmatic female was admitted to the hospital early in January 2021 with acute dengue fever and severe allergic reaction to a drug that, after remaining stable initially, the teenager developed complications 1 week ago, deteriorated and died on Tuesday. During this current outbreak of 1,790 laboratory-confirmed cases of dengue fever have been recorded and 8 persons have died from the complications of the disease. Meanwhile, St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Tuesday confirmed 62 new COVID-19 cases. NEMO said all of the cases are nationals detected during contact tracing and testing at clinics and targeted screening. There have now been 404 local cases of COVID-19, the majority of whom NEMO said are linked to various cluster types, including work sites, churches, and private parties. 119 persons have recovered, 481 cases remain active, and 2 persons have died from complications of COVID-19. A total of 602 cases of COVID-19 have been reported in St. Vincent and the Grenadines thus far. NEMO noted all positive cases remain isolated until cleared, and that due to the continued robust contact tracing and active flu clinics, the molecular laboratory is still reporting delays in processing and reporting of results for samples. It said the installation of additional equipment on Tuesday is expected to significantly reduce the turnaround time for testing to results and minimize these delays. The public is asked to note that the Georgetown Health Center will continue to offer routine community health services along with COVID-19 services in a separate flu clinic area. Some persons who have tested positive for COVID-19 have complained that they are not properly isolated at home, fearing that they could expose other family members, including their elderly relatives, with the virus. Addressing this issue on radio today, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves said that he has been in discussion with the Chief Medical Officer and a Permanent Secretary about the problem and have so far found one guest house that will accommodate the patients.
And we have been trying to identify a couple of guest houses. Some of them wanted so much money, but we have gotten one. They yesterday or day before yesterday, with 25 rooms, which we'll get at a reasonable price. Obviously,
the Prime Minister is encouraging persons to look for alternative arrangements if they can, with friends or other family members who have additional rooms to spare.
Some persons will just want to go there, even though they can make adjustments in their home. For instance, I hear that somebody who has their house got 5 rooms, and there are two elderly persons there, and I could understand wanting to protect them. And you tell me you can't find space in the 5-room house?
As the country grapples with COVID-19 pandemic and its grave efforts, the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force is advising members of the public to continue to be responsible citizens, be adhering to the various measures and protocols that have been implemented by the government to protect citizens and visitors and to reduce the spread of the coronavirus. These protocols include the recommendations for the managed conduct of mass gatherings with or without amplified music, issued by the Health Services Subcommittee of the National Emergency Management Committee, a COVID-19 Task Force, and the Ministry of Health, Wellness, and the Environment. On Monday, Prime Minister Dr. Afghan Savs, in a national address, announced that his government has taken the decision to declare 2 public holidays on Friday, January 22nd and Monday, January 25th, 2021 for public health reasons in light of the spike in COVID-19 cases and the threat of the La Soufrière volcano. In a news release issued today, the RSVG police force said it acknowledged that it is customary for Vincentians to engage in different social activities and events or on public holidays. However, given the rise in COVID-19 cases in the country and the need for physical distancing and social hygiene, citizens are encouraged to exercise restraint and stay at home as far as possible over the long extended weekend of the 22nd to the 25th of January. The RSVG police force said officers would be conducting strategic and targeted patrols to ensure the following: no playing of amplified music in public or private places, no mass gatherings of persons on beaches or other social events including river cooks, picnics, etc. Social and physical distancing are being practiced. Motorists and commuters are adhering to protocols with regards to public transportation, and the number of passengers riding in omnibus or on boat rides and or excursions or quarantined persons remain at their designated places of communion at all times. Thanking the general public for its cooperation and support during this unprecedented period, the RSVG police force, in its news release, appeals to everyone to work hand in hand towards the maintenance of health and safety and security of the nation. Meanwhile, during his weekly appearance on the NBC radio today, Prime Minister Dr. Afghan Savs said the police have the power to make arrests for persons found on the beach in a breach of COVID-19 protocols, including those for mass gatherings under Section 219 of the Criminal Code. He noted that some people are bent on breaching these protocols, and though not mandatory, they need to adhere by them.
The rubric for this is negligent acts likely to spread disease. Any person who unlawfully or negligently does any act which he knows or has reason to believe to be likely to cause the spread of any infectious or contagious disease is guilty of an offense and is liable to imprisonment for 1 year.
The Prime Minister said the mass gathering protocols also apply to persons gathering on beaches and the number of persons in buses. He said the law can be enforced against persons found in breach. However, it must be balanced with direction used by the police.
The policemen meet you down at the beach, for instance, or even if you're inside of a minibus, can say to you, look, you shouldn't be jamming up like how you're jamming up on the beach or in the minibus, as the case might be. And especially if you don't have on a mask on you. But you're going to go to the beach with a mask. Before you sit down, you're all close to one another. I expect the policeman come in there and meets you, and the policeman will say, listen, you know, you're all not supposed to be gathering like this. They say, well, you know, it's not 20 of us, you know. They say, yes. We know it's not 20 of you. Before you write in each other's face, you're likely to cause the spread of a contagious disease named COVID.
On the issue of mask wearing, Prime Minister Gonsalves said that businesses or vans are covered by law if they are to make the wearing of mask mandatory.
Has happened is that business places and government services, the government departments, statutory bodies, they have made the wearing of masks in their business premises for workers and for their clients mandatory. And there's nothing wrong with that. The existing law protects that, but what it is not mandatory in a criminal or penal sense. But nobody can stop a business place, a supermarket, for telling you you can't come inside there unless you have on a mask. They can impose conditions based on public health grounds, for instance. When somebody says, if an anti-mask person says, I'm not going to wear a mask to go to the supermarket and nobody could stop you. Well, the security will stop you. They say they will sue. Sue what? You will not succeed because a man has a right to put conditions relating to public health to their premise.
The Prime Minister again made an appeal to people to stay home during the 4 days holiday weekend and not to put a strain on the police resources. The National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, has ramped up its information sharing in communities that are in the danger zone of the La Soufrière volcano, which is currently going through an effusive eruption. This, as some residents were found to be misinformed about the activities at the La Soufrière volcano last Saturday night, where some persons saw a red glow coming from the summit of the volcano, in which persons assumed there was an imminent explosive eruption and went into a panic mode. NEMO explained that La Soufrière continues to have effusive eruptions as hot magma reaches the surface of extreme temperatures. This appears in the night as fire or bright red glow above the craters at the dome. And as the dome gets higher and closer to the rim of the crater, the glow will continue to be visible on clear nights. In an interview with SVG-TV News Today, Director of NEMO, Michelle Forbes, said while they are prepared, should an evacuation order be given, there is a need for them to ramp up their communication strategies in communities which are most likely to be affected in the event of an explosive eruption.
Social media, there are some who have not. There are some persons who will listen one radio station versus not the other. So the information has to be, we have to do our best and send information through all media, and so that persons can have the information. So that's why we'll continue. We do the virtual meetings. We do a balance between the virtual meetings. We do the public service system, the PA systems, and I think that one is becoming more effective because then we can reach the persons in the community. And we also do little flyers. We'll be putting up some posters. We'll be working with the Red Cross on installing the meeting points in the event of evacuation, and we continue to work as we go along.
NEMO will continue to host meetings in North Leeward and North Windward. Tomorrow, a virtual meeting will be held for residents of Georgetown, another community in the red zone. Forbes noted that disaster awareness groups in all communities have met with NEMO, and the names of point persons from every community will soon be published so that residents know who to contact in the event something major was to happen.
The point contacting persons in the community, so we can give that out too, because we let in the person know we're going to share your name so that you can contact you. If anybody has any questions, they can contact the committee and all of that, so they can make arrangements. We actually started since the alert was given. We actually have been starting collecting names of persons who have somewhere else to go. So we have a database now of that, so we know how many persons we'll have to account for in a public shelter environment. That will not, of course, be shared with the public. That's for internal use. And, you can evacuate with the rest of the population, but we'll know that you're not scheduled to be at a public shelter. You have alternative arrangement these are what we are just tidying up. So, but we have worked with the communities for years, so the plans have been there. It's just that we have to find a little better way of getting the information to people.
Meanwhile, Forbes said a preparedness plan has always been in place and most of the elements of the plan have been implemented. She, however, noted that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, they have been constrained, but their work continues.
We have some hazard maps that are completed. We'll be putting up the hazard maps also that will have the meeting points and all that, because we had an ongoing project that we were hoping to complete at the end of the year that would have billboards throughout all the communities in the red zone, but of course because of COVID we had to basically curtail our activities. So we already have some of those same hazard maps. We'll be having billboards in the community. That's not immediate, but that was always the plan. We are prepared. It's just we still need to ensure that the community has all the information that they need to have. And I think that's where, that's really where the gap is.
The Honorary Consul of Guyana to SVG, Nigel Russell, has started a data gathering exercise of nationals in SVG, especially for those residing in danger zones of the La Soufrière volcano and may need assistance in the event of an evacuation order. Russell told SVG-TV News that he has been closely following the activities of the volcano, so it is the authorities in the Guyana
to know where they are. We began building this list and this database since 2015, as you might know. And we've gone on to 2021, still trying to build the list of those persons who are nationals, Guyanese nationals who are residing here. And first of all, we'd want them to call the office. So just let us know where you're living, how many people are living there. This is also a state of finding out what nationals we have, where they're located. So in the event that there is an eruption and they've got to be displaced, then the government of Guyana obviously will be working closely with the government of St. Vincent through our office. That as far as it's.
According to Russell, there are Guyanese scattered across SVG, even in communities in the red and orange zone of the La Soufrière volcano.
Since 2015. And when I look at the volcanic map in terms of the zones, my list tells me what I have. Close to 25% of the Guyanese nationals are living within that zone. We don't want to alarm anyone, but we have to be prepared. And because we've been sending these reports to Guyana, obviously being passed by the government of St. Vincent, Guyana is concerned, obviously, and they have a team looking into all of this every single day. Let me remind many of them that in 2016, when we had 2015, 2016, when Hurricane Irma, when she hit Tortola and St. Martin, it was devastating. Hotels, 90% of those hotels were destroyed, so they couldn't even be used as shelters. The biggest challenge was to find the nationals of the respective countries, including Guyana. Because they did not have an organized, comprehensive list, it was difficult for days to find them. So we have learned from those things, and that is why it is necessary that we keep abreast with those changing times to keep our list current.
Meanwhile, the Guyanese Honorary Consul said that with travel restrictions in place by some countries, his office has been successful in processing visas for individuals here in SVG who must use Guyana as a transit point.
Since Trinidad has closed its airports, for the longest while it's been on lockdown, many people have had to go through Guyana. In the case of the Nigerian students that are here going into medical college, they've been here between 6 to 7 years. They're ready to go back home. And from November to now, we've done like 30 transit visas going through Guyana. We want to make this very clear. From all the calls we've been receiving, you can get your transit visas processed through our office to continue going through Guyana.
Grenada are ready for Vincentians, and the government of Grenada says all the necessary preparations are in place to assist Vincentians if needed in the event of an evacuation. The government of Grenada says all the necessary preparations are in place to assist Vincentians if needed in the event of an evacuation. We hear more in this GBN television report.
Minister for Health, Nicholas Steele, says the government of Grenada is in constant contact with the authorities in St. Vincent and is ready and able to assist the island if the need arises.
Our National Emergency Management entity has been speaking with theirs as well as with SEDERA. We have been monitoring the situation. COVID-19 poses a challenge in almost all aspects of our life, but does not make it impossible for us to be our brother's keeper and to be there for our brothers and sisters in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We also would like to recognize that on top of the various challenges that they would have, like us and most of the world with COVID-19, they're also facing this challenge with their volcano or the threat. And as such, they are even more in our thoughts and prayers, and we are here should the need arise.
The COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 wreaked havoc on the global economy, affecting several key sectors, including tourism, the bread and butter of some Caribbean countries. Chief Executive Officer of SVG Tourism Authority, Glenn Beach, however, noted that while there were significant losses in the local industry in 2020, SVG was much better than many countries in the region. He was speaking on the economic fallout in the industry and the way forward in a telephone interview with SVG-TV News Today.
Well, the budget is still being discussed now. I think we're only in January of this year, so the end of the financial year was December last year. But I think it will be significant. I don't think it will be as bad as some of the other countries because we're not solely dependent on tourism. So it makes a big difference. When you talk about countries like Antigua and Barbuda, St. Lucia, Barbados, who are solely dependent on tourism, it's a huge difference. Now, within the tourism sector, I think one of our saving graces, if you want to call it that, has been the yachting sector, because the yachties are obviously on the waters for a long time. I think every country internationally has basically had a fallout last year. Due to this, and it's because every country, no matter what they might say, every country has some dependency on tourism.
In response to comments made by President of the SVG Hotel and Tourism Association, Kim Halibich, on the steady decline in business for hoteliers and other tourism stakeholders, in an interview with SVG-TV News yesterday, Beach said the government of SVG will do everything in its power to keep local businesses, including those in the tourism sector, open.
We're going to do everything possible to make sure that small businesses don't close. It's going to be a challenge, but it's not only a challenge for the government, it's also a challenge for the businesses themselves to find new ways of doing certain things. I must give the Hotel and Tourism Association credit in terms of promoting more staycations. I think the Prime Minister has made it clear that they're looking at till March or April extending the package that the government spoke about.
Speaking on the recent suspension of Air Canada flights to SVG, which is expected to resume in about 3 months' time, Beach said the suspension is not isolated and comes as a result of the fluidity of the COVID-19 pandemic.
One of the problems I'm having in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, people seem to think we're in some sort of a vacuum. There's a pandemic taking place, which is self-explanatory, is self-explaining. Air Canada's postponement of flights to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, St. Lucia, and some other destinations in the Northern Caribbean speaks for itself. This pandemic is a fluid situation, and I think people need to understand that. We have dealt with it fairly well over the past year or so when it was first announced that it is a pandemic. We have been one of Air Canada's better destinations, especially within the Caribbean. But Canada also has made its rules. So it's not just a matter of what's going on in St. Vincent and the Grenadines that's affecting tourism. It's a matter of what's taking place internationally. And I think people need to understand that and stop looking at this as if it's a vacuum.
On the subject of the Royal Caribbean Cruise Line, which recently added St. Vincent and the Grenadines to its list of new ports of its call for 2021 schedule beginning December, the Tourism Authority CEO said he welcomed the news, which did not come as a surprise.
It has nothing to do with that. If that was the case, we would have had calls coming in since last year because we dealt with it arguably the best in the Caribbean. This is all about what we have done with Royal Caribbean and the way we operated. One of the things Royal Caribbean and some of the other cruise lines have said is that they appreciated the way we dealt with getting our sailors back home. And as you probably know, Royal Caribbean, after the government, employs the most Vincentians. So we have a very good relationship. So this doesn't come as a surprise to us. We've been backing Barbados as a home port because we're a very close neighbor to Barbados. And therefore, once Barbados is being used as a home port, which it is about to be by Royal Caribbean, we knew we would be on the itinerary. And that's has been part of it. And we expect some more calls to be made by other cruise lines.
The National Accreditation Board of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the Caribbean Area Network for Quantity Assurance in Territory Education, CANTAKE, will present the third in a series of lectures tomorrow evening at 7 Eastern Caribbean Time via Zoom, titled Advancing the Caribbean Narrative of Strengthening Diversity, the Role of Higher Education. Prime Minister Dr. Afghan Saabs will present the lecture. UNESCO Sustainable Development Goal aims to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. The presentation is intended to share experiences and prefer suggestions on how Caribbean nations may capitalize or are capitalizing on our diversity to provide inclusive and equitable quality education to the citizens of the region in our continued quest to influence quantity in higher education internationally. The lecture series is being presented in the lieu of hosting the annual CANTAKE conference, which was cancelled in October 2020 given the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. SVG was expected to host the conference. CANTAKE works to promote capacity building among countries and institutions of higher education and to educate regional discourses on policy and research in the fields of quality assurance and quality enhancement, whilst engaging policymakers, researchers, evaluators, administrators, and a facility in professional development. The National Accreditation Board of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is a member of CANTAKE. Vincentians Inga Jackson, who is a charter member of the Creative Thinkers Toastmasters Club, has been awarded the title of Distinguished Toastmaster DTM. Jackson said her journey to Distinguished Toastmaster was a most exciting one, and the club created the fun and supportive environment for her to learn, to strive, and to meet her goals. She has represented her club at a multiple area speech contest, with her highest achievement being second place at the Caribbean District 81 Speech Evaluation Contest in 2013, as part of criteria on her road to DTM status. She served as Area Director of Area 18 during the period 2014 to 2015, her high performance leadership program, and held various other club leadership positions over the years, serving as Secretariat at Arms, Vice President, Education, and President. Jackson now joins approximately 1% of over 345,000 Toastmaster members worldwide to share this prestigious title.